Nobody expected Iran to move like this. That night, they surprised the world and changed everything. For decades, the Middle East had been a stage of calculated tension, proxy wars, and fragile alliances. But Iran's missile strike was a game changer, a sudden and strategic eruption that no one saw coming. The precision and scale of the attack sent shockwaves, not just through the region, but across global power centers. Behind the scenes, Iran had been quietly building its strength. Sanctions and diplomatic isolation had not broken their will. Instead, Tehran invested heavily in missile technology and asymmetric warfare tactics. Their alliances with regional proxies were deepening, creating a network of influence that stretched from Lebanon to Yemen. When they finally acted, it was with a confidence born of meticulous planning. The missiles struck with devastating accuracy. Military bases housing foreign troops, command centers, and critical supply lines were hit hard. The damage was significant, and the message was clear: Iran was ready to challenge the status quo. The attack was not just a physical blow, but a psychological one, undermining the sense of security held by many Western powers. Intelligence agencies worldwide were caught off guard. Despite satellite monitoring and signal interception, they failed to anticipate the timing and scope of the attack. This failure sparked urgent reviews and intense criticism, exposing gaps in both technology and strategic assessment. Analysts admitted that Iran's strategic patience and ability to operate covertly had been severely underestimated. Political leaders faced a daunting dilemma. Retaliation risked escalating a conflict that could spiral out of control, yet inaction could be perceived as weakness, encouraging further aggression. Emergency meetings were held, strategies debated, and options weighed carefully. The world was entering a new and uncertain phase of geopolitical tension. Regionally, Iran's move emboldened its allies. Groups in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen saw Tehran's strike as a green light to increase their own activities. This surge in proxy actions complicated peace efforts and heightened instability across multiple fronts. Economically, the strike triggered immediate repercussions. Oil prices spiked amid fears of supply disruption, affecting markets worldwide. Shipping lanes became hotspots of tension as military patrols increased. The interconnected nature of global trade meant that Iran's actions had ripple effects far beyond its borders. Inside Iran, the strike was celebrated as a testament to national strength and sovereignty. The government framed it as a successful defense against foreign interference, rallying domestic support and reinforcing national pride. This narrative helped solidify Iran's position both at home and on the regional stage. The global response was a complex mixture of condemnation, calculation, and caution. Analysts debated the implications, noting the rise of asymmetric warfare and the challenges it posed to traditional military and intelligence paradigms. Diplomats grappled with how to engage a state that had demonstrated both capability and resolve to defy international norms. As the dust settled, it became clear that the balance of power in the Middle East had shifted. Old assumptions no longer held, and new realities demanded fresh strategies and renewed dialogue. The region was entering a period of uncertainty, with high stakes for stability and security. In the wake of the strike, the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East transformed rapidly. Iran's bold action sent a ripple through the complex web of alliances and rivalries that defined the region. Allies of Tehran gained confidence, while adversaries reassessed their positions and strategies. Proxy groups aligned with Iran intensified their operations. In Lebanon, Hezbollah increased its activities, asserting more influence within political and military spheres. In Syria, Iranian-backed militias expanded their presence, solidifying Tehran's foothold. Iraq's security situation grew more volatile, with Iranian influence challenging Baghdad's sovereignty. Yemen's conflict deepened, as Iran's support to Houthi rebels persisted and intensified. The international intelligence community undertook deep reviews to understand how such a significant strike escaped detection. It became evident that traditional intelligence methods, reliant on technology and signals, were insufficient against a state employing strategic patience and a multi-layered approach to concealment. This realization prompted calls for new intelligence frameworks that integrated cultural, political, and strategic insights. Western powers publicly condemned Iran's actions, emphasizing the need for respect of international norms and stability. Yet, behind closed doors, strategic uncertainty reigned. Military retaliation was discussed but viewed as risky, potentially triggering wider conflict. Sanctions were tightened but with questions about their effectiveness. Diplomatic channels remained tenuous, but were cautiously maintained to prevent further escalation. The economic fallout lingered. Energy markets remained volatile, with oil prices sensitive to every development. Shipping routes through the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb Strait became flashpoints. Investors reassessed risks, affecting global trade and economic growth projections. The strike challenged existing military doctrines. It underscored the rise of asymmetric tactics, where smaller states and non-state actors leveraged technology, proxy networks, and strategic patience to counterbalance larger powers. Military planners worldwide began reevaluating their approaches to intelligence, defense, and regional engagement. Public opinion was divided. Some called for a strong response to deter future aggression, while others cautioned against plunging into another Middle Eastern conflict. The complexity of the situation left many uncertain about the best path forward. The strike and its aftermath reshaped alliances. Some countries strengthened ties with Iran, while others reinforced their partnerships with Western powers. The region's geopolitical map became more fluid and unpredictable. Amid the turmoil, the human cost of conflict became apparent. Civilians bore the brunt of instability, facing displacement, economic hardship, and insecurity. The growing humanitarian crisis underscored the urgent need for peaceful solutions. As the world watched, the Middle East stood at a crossroads. The events of that night had not just altered military calculations, but had forced a reevaluation of diplomacy, security, and the very nature of power. Months passed, but the consequences of that night continued to unfold with relentless intensity. Iran's missile strike had set in motion a cascade of events, reshaping regional and global politics. The Middle East was no longer a place where old rules applied unchallenged. Iran accelerated its military developments, integrating new missile systems and enhancing its capacity to project power beyond its borders. Training and support for proxy forces intensified, creating a more robust network of influence and control. Tehran's strategy appeared clear: to establish itself as the dominant power in the region, capable of deterring adversaries and shaping outcomes to its advantage. Global powers watched warily. The United States and its allies reinforced their military presence, but remained cautious about direct confrontation. Russia and China sought to expand their influence, leveraging the instability to their strategic benefit. Diplomatic initiatives surfaced sporadically, but were often undermined by mistrust and competing interests. Economic uncertainty persisted. Energy markets fluctuated with geopolitical developments, and global supply chains faced ongoing risks. Nations dependent on Middle Eastern energy reassessed their strategies, seeking diversification and security. The human toll remained staggering. Conflicts fueled by shifting alliances displaced millions, creating humanitarian emergencies that strained international aid and challenged global solidarity. Experts and analysts concluded that the Middle East was entering a new era, one defined by asymmetric warfare, strategic patience, and complex diplomacy. The traditional concepts of deterrence and power projection were evolving in response to these changes. For policymakers, the challenge was immense. They had to navigate a landscape where clear-cut solutions were elusive, where alliances were fluid, and where the potential for miscalculation was high. The night Iran moved like this had changed the rules, demanding new thinking and nuanced engagement. The story of that night is not just about missiles or military might. It is about the shifting nature of power in the modern world. It reminds us that history can change in an instant, and that those who adapt fastest will shape the future. Want me to break down what this means for the future? Comment below. It's not what you think.